Hey guys, my name is Chris. It's my pleasure to connect with you here for this Fund Manager mini bootcamp. Now, if you're watching this means that you are probably joining or about to be joining one of our upcoming Fund Manager online mini bootcamps. We have shot a 15-minute video that allows you to get more prepared, more tuned in, and also to get your technical readiness up to speed. So, welcome to the Fund Manager mini bootcamp. Our goal here is really to work with you and a global community of like-minded emerging fund managers to allow you to master challenges of building and leading early-stage venture firms. We want to make sure that you get the tools and the trainings and the techniques to help you successfully lead and build your own real-life venture fund. And then finally, we want to help you learn and work with, master a series of visual fund manager canvases and what we call the fund manager strategy simulation. So the goals that we bring to the table are, we want to help you understand the full lifespan or the full fund journey of a fund. Second, we want to make sure that you get some new ideas, new insights, new tools and techniques that you can apply with your future fund or the funds you're currently working with. We want to help you nudge closer to exploring your own fund if you're one of the people still thinking about how, when, and why to set up your own venture fund. And importantly, we want to make sure that we get you connected to a great community of like-minded people around the world. Now, we're going to be bringing the toolkit, and you may already have it in your invitation email. You'll be able to download it, and we're going to be working through the toolkit as we progress through the bootcamp. Now, the instructors that you're most likely to meet is going to be Rick Rasmussen, who's joining us from Silicon Valley, California. You're going to be meeting Scott Newton, who's joining us from Italy, and then myself joining from Norway. And depending on the size and the scope, you may meet also Enrico from Belgium. You may meet Javier from Mexico. You may meet Nir from Israel, and any one of our global certified experts. So let's dive into the introduction, shall we? Now, in Fund Manager, you get to live through the entire life cycle of a fund, from formation, raising, deploying, the value creation, exits, and finally dissolving the fund. And in 10 to 15 hours, you'll get a chance to work through the entire 15 year life cycle of a fund. And we call this the fund journey map. In the simulation, you'll be exposed to all the different aspects, all the different stages as we work through your fund in practice. Now, we have run more than 250 sessions globally on these simulations, and we work in boardrooms and classrooms globally, from some of the leading business schools to some of the most future-thinking organizations. And we're bringing that experience to you in this program. So, in Fund Manager, your job is to develop a fund strategy, work with your team, raise LP funding, scout deal flow, and make sure you have the right deal flow for your fund. Invest into, hopefully, a portfolio of successful startups, generate stunning return, and make sure that your LP investors are happy to keep investing into your funds in the future. Just like in real life, you have to master that full life cycle. Now, the background research that we've done here is that we have studied and analyzed and mapped out a large number of many of the leading venture firms in the world. From the pre-seed seed stages of Speed Invest to the later stages of BlackRock and Baldwin, to corporate ventures, family offices, Nordic, Asian, Latin American, and you name it. We have done our research to allow you and your fund to kind of step into this mix. So, Fund Manager in 30 seconds. You're going to be working with the team, and you are the new team of a new investment company. Your goal is to raise one fund, maybe multiple funds, and invest into successful companies. Now, along the way, you're going to meet booms and busts, LPs, GPs, strategic dilemmas, advisors, market news, exits, value creation, and much, much, much more. If you're lucky, you may catch yourself a couple of unicorns, maybe a decacorn, maybe a dragon, who knows? Now, how do we win? Well, we win by developing a clear investment thesis, clear investment strategy. You win by raising LP financing, grow your pipeline, invest in the right companies that fit your thesis, and generate exits and returns. just like in real life, you get judged on your performance, not on your strategy. Good luck. There's a couple of roles that you need to have on your team, and you're going to be set up with your teams once we get started. So you have 5 roles. You don't have to be 5 people. So you can be maybe even 2 people or 3 people, but then one person needs to have multiple roles. Managing partner, that is the person that is primarily in charge. This is also the person who is in charge of developing the economic model, the fund model, the value creation styles, and the exit plays. Fundraising Director is responsible for all aspects of limited partners and bringing investors into your funds. Investment Director is all about making the investment decisions. You may or may not have an IC, that depends on your fund. You may have a deal flow analyst, and that is the person who is scouting all of your potential investment deals and recommends them into your investment director. And then finally, you have the fund manager who is running the day-to-day operation, making sure that you have your financials okay, your reporting's okay, your portfolio model is okay, and a lot of things. So those 5 roles, each of them need to be assigned. But again, you can have one person having multiple roles. Now, you're also going to be receiving a fund card. The fund card is your initial starting point, but it has a lot of flexibility. It allows you to shape thesis and strategy. So once you get started, this happens sort of within the first few minutes. You're going to be working with your team to develop investment thesis, fund strategy, and your fund economics model, which looks like this. So here you can see we have our thesis, we have our stages, the fund size, the timeline of the fund, and you can see sort of in the middle that starting to put some pieces together. We have our value creation strategy, which is effectively our personality. What is the personality that you want of your fund? You want to be an active, aggressive. You want to be intelligent and collaborative. These are different personality traits of your fund. Then we have, with regards to management fees and some key economics, we have your LP returns, or these are targeted LP returns, and the strategy summary. But this is just one of many worksheets that you'll be working on early on with your team. Now, some basic concept of what does a venture fund look like. Now, of course, in reality, you can have many other structures. You can have SPVs, you can have family offices, you can have CVC funds, but we have, to keep your life simple, we have a GP-LP structure. And if you're familiar with that, well, you know what that looks like. So basically, we have this. So if we take the legal structure first, you have a management company, and once you start the simulation, you can decide on where do we want to play, what is our name. You have your GP structure, and then you have your fund name. Of course, the fund is just the first, and then you may choose to have multiple funds down the road. So you, for example, you could say that our management company is Flying Tigers Venture Capital, and then our GP structure is Flying Tigers GP, and the fund name would be Flying Tigers 1, or you can have Flying Tigers Pre-Seed, or you can have Flying Tigers Tech Fund. But those are the differences between the management company, the GP structure, and the fund name. Then we have the economic model. So here you can see a pretty standard management fee. You have 20% carried interest. That varies, of course. That's standard. And then you have the GP commitment, which is typically between 1% and 5%. So again, pretty standard concepts. Then we have your team. You get employed and you receive, hopefully, long-term carry. When we start, you need to bring your startup capital, your working capital, and the GP commitment. And that's typically a little bit tricky to solve. Then we have your LPs. These are your limited partners. These are the investors that are going to invest into your fund. Now here you can see it says level 1, level 1, and level 1. That indicates that these are all sort of easy to reach, small ticket sizes, maybe not even professional investors. In the simulation, we work with level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 5 being the most advanced, typically DFIs and sovereign wealth funds. Then we have your startups. These are your investments. And this is what we call your portfolio construct. So you can see here that, as an example, we have level 1 pre-seed, level 1 pre-seed, level 1 pre-seed. So typically an early stage. But then we also have a level 2 seed, level 3 venture, and level 5 private equity. So this is what we would call a multi-stage fund, where you have some early tickets, some early VC, and then some late stage or private equity space. This is your portfolio. And your job is to build your portfolio that matches your thesis and your strategy, scale it, support it, grow it, and exit it. And then finally, we have your venture partners. Now, these are optional. Now, just like in real life, you can choose whether you want to have venture partners. You can choose whether you want to work with venture partners. But if you do, they'll bring lots of experience and lots of expertise. They'll also be quite costly. So it's a trade-off for your fund whether you want to have venture partners or not. All right. So how do we succeed? Well, you succeed by this. First, in the beginning, you need to develop a very clear investment thesis and strategy. Then you need to secure the right LPs, the right startups, the right partners, and if you choose, the right advisors. And then, really important, which we see a lot of people kind of not really getting until they are at the very, very end, is you got to track and protect your fund economics. There's a lot of ways that you can lose value. There's a lot of ways that you can leave value on the table. So you got to figure out the entire economic model that runs through your fund. If you do these things right, you will most likely deliver a world-class fund performance in the simulation. Now, in terms of the tech setup, and this is really important, there's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. Number one, device. Please join the session on a computer, laptop, desktop. Joining in your car or on a train via an iPhone or an iPad, it's not going to work. It's a bad experience for you, but it's a bad experience for your team. Screens. Now, we strongly recommend having 2 screens. Ideally, one being a big monitor. That's for the main content, and you need to be able to really read a lot of details. And then second, you may have a laptop screen or a second monitor, and that's typically for the video feed. So you'll be okay if you only have 1 screen, but it's a much better experience for you if you have 2. Next, we have Miro. So Miro is the tech platform that we use. I assume that many of you are quite familiar with it. If you're not familiar with it, please spend a few minutes online and get introduced and familiarized, because it's going to be a really tough day number 1 for you if you're not at all familiar with these kind of digital whiteboards. We also encourage everyone to go sign up. So take 2 minutes, go to Miro.com, sign up for a free user account, and make sure that you're logged in when we start. We need you to be logged in with your user identity when we start. And then finally, optimizing your computer performance. We have some heavy applications here, and we want to make sure that you have the best experience possible. So please, if you can, close down Windows, close down folders, shut off your Dropbox, which tends to be running in the corner of your screen. Anything that you can do that will save up computer memory will make your experience better. Okay? Now, this is optional, but for those of you that are interested and maybe want to prepare a little bit more, we have selected a couple of pre-reads. So there's some light pre-reads here. So this is some introduction level material that is quite accessible. It takes maybe 10 minutes per piece. For more intermediate, we have some other recommended pieces. For really advanced participants, probably like you guys, there's a couple of pieces here, one from Mark Pinkella, one from Diligent Equity, one from Seraph, which we think is useful more at the advanced levels. All right, that's enough for the opening introduction. Now we're going to jump to the tech platform and show you where we're going to be working. I'm going to switch to this. So you're now seeing the high-level overview of what does a simulation look like. I'm going to zoom in. And that gets us right here. This is where the majority of work will happen. This is, as you can see, inspired by a Monopoly-like design, Fund Manager, the fund management strategy simulation. Now, a couple of things that you need to know. We're going to start right here. So when we start, you're going to be lining up your avatar right here. We're going to be rolling dice, and you're going to be moving along, facing whatever happens in the life of an emerging fund manager. Now, you see a pink line here. This is facilitator space. Now, all the stuff that's below here, that is for the facilitators only. Just like a table setup, you would never reach in and help yourself to a lot of stuff. So don't ever go below that pink line as a facilitator space. Your space is here. This is what we call your drop zone. Team number 1, team number 2, team number 3, etc. Now, a drop zone means this is where you will be receiving all of your stuff, all of your content, all of your cards, and equally, this is where you pay back any cash that you lose. So when we need to give you items, we drag them here, and you pick them up and place them into your workspace. This is your workspace. You have a workspace running from left to right, or on the other side from right to left. Team number 1, team number 2, team number 3, and then we have 4, 5, and 6 on the other side. Now, your workspace is largely designed to follow the entire life cycle of a fund. So it starts really basic. And of course, you and your team, when we get started, you're going to be completing all of this yourself. So place your fund card here, fill in your names of the team cards. So what is the name of the investment company? What is the name of the fund? Who has the different roles? Managing partner, fundraising director, investment director, deal flow analyst, and fund manager. Then we have your investment thesis. So here we're using the investment thesis canvas inspired by the great guys at VC Lab. You're launching, size of committed capital, stage, location, geography, sectors, and secret sauce. And we'll be showing you examples of this as we proceed. Then we have your fund strategy. And the fund strategy that we showed a few minutes ago is really about taking you through the different steps needed to develop your fund strategy. Then we have fund investment decisions. How are we going to be making decisions? Is it the managing partner only, an investment director only? Is it the IC, or is it everyone on the team? And what is required for our investment decision? Team starting capital, so your opening financial model, and your carry card, because you may realize that you need to give away some carry as you proceed, or you may have some LPs that have different demands on carry. So expect a little bit of fighting here over what does the carry structure look like. Then we have your bank account. Now you're going to be operating with 3 bank accounts. One is the working capital for the management company. Now this pays for salaries and general operations. Then we have the working capital for the GP. That is your GP commitment that's going into the fund, and you need a minimum 1%, ideally more. Then we have your investment capital and your follow-on investment capital. So this is the actual money from the fund. Now, of course, you need to understand how money flows between these different bank accounts. So for example, once you do a capital call, you get money into your investment capital, and then some of that may go from the investment capital and back to the management company in what we call management fees. Equally, the GP capital will go into the fund as investment capital. So understanding the linkages between these 3, 4 bank accounts, that's important. We have your fund reporting sheet. And then we get into the different optimized roles. So here you can see it says Fundraising Director. Now that means that this is the domain of the person who is running all the fundraising work. So this space all the way here. Here, you want to gather your LP prospects, and you take your prospects, strong prospects likely to sign, ready to close. And once you have made a decision to bring someone into your fund, well, you place them into your committed LP. And then you're going to update your database. So over time, you will have a pretty active database here of your committed LPs. Just to show you an example of what that looks like, I'm going to take one of the cards that we had here previously. I'm going to bring that over, and you'll be doing exactly the same kind of work that I'm doing here. So this is your sister, Letitia. She used to work for Apple, running the latest metaverse program. She also got paid in Apple stock during her first decade with the firm. Her personal net worth is now somewhere around 150 million. She can invest 500,000 into your meager fund. This is a level 1, friends and family. Obviously, your sister doesn't have a lot of confidence in you, but she can invest. So the question is now, well, what do we want to do here? So in this case, you can say, well, is she a prospect? Most likely she's a strong prospect, maybe. Highly likely to sign, ready to close. And the moment you decide, hey, let's bring her into the fund, well, you can bring her over here. And she is now your very, very first LP in your fund. Now, that means you also got to bring it over here, and you got to complete this space where you now have a limited partner, your sister Letitia, category, friends and family, amount 500,000, drawdown. She has no special terms, so you can draw down based on your strategy, which is immediately or capital calls over time. She has no specific terms, and her fees, well, that would probably be your standard model, which you have already decided on. Now, again, for some of you watching this is really, really standard, plain as vanilla. For others, we may be getting into some details here that is possibly quite new. Then we get into the deal flow analyst. And the deal flow analyst is all about the companies you want to invest in. So here we have early leads and potential investments, strong investment prospects. I'm going to bring over an example and show you what that looked like. So I'm going to take a now we're bringing two companies here with us. All right, so what do we have? So we have a Finnish digital health startup called Shoes. It aims to put an intelligent pressure pad in every shoe, supposed to be the next big thing. Would you like to join Kry, Speed Invest, and Nordic Ninja for this 4 million at 10 million seed round? Now, there's a couple of kind of items here. First of all, it doesn't say how much. We can reasonably expect 1 million each. So this would be a 1 million investment for your fund. And it's 10 million seed round, but it doesn't say if it's pre or post money valuations. You have to define, is this a pre or post money valuation? Next, we have the growth. This is a much more later stage. Dutch serial entrepreneurs Juice and Cohen are doing their third startup. Good for them. Combining fintech and cleantech to do is creating a new marketplace to fund global cleantech ideas in Africa. FMO, DEG, and CDC have all committed 100 million each. 400 million B series at 2 billion. This is double unicorn right here. 100 is available to your fund. Okay. So we have a 1 million investment opportunity and we have a 100 million investment opportunity. Now, both of these, I'm going to bring those over to the right workspace. Both of these belong in your deal flow pipeline, but you may decide that one of them is not a good fit for us. So initially, put them here. Now we're going to assume that this is more of a smaller fund. So you want to bring the first, the digital health company over. And you say, you know, I'm actually recommending this. I am the deal flow analyst and I'm recommending this for my team. We got to do a little bit of prep work, do a little bit of number crunching in terms of what is the valuation, what is the equity we get, etc., etc. And when it doesn't say whether it's pre or post, you got to make some assumptions. And then once you have made the recommendation, the investment director will bring this over and say, all right, we have our first investment in our fund. Good for you, investment director. You now starting to get busy because you now got to complete this. This is your active portfolio. And just like any portfolio management system, you got to keep track of the company, the stage, the investment, the valuation, the number of shares we get. So here, a little bit of work to do. Now, very important information. If you're doing the cap table here and you're doing the database, you need to assume all companies have 100,000 shares when you make your first investment, and then you work from there. Now, as the investment director, you start pretty, slow, but you're going to get busy. So once you build your portfolio, once you do your follow-on rounds, if any, once you do your markup events, if any, you will eventually get your portfolio exits. Good for you. That's what we call a big payday. And now you have your completed exits. So if we assume that our digital health companies sort of sprinted through this, well, they go through your portfolio, they go through the portfolio follow-ons, they go through your markup events, and you get an exit. And boom, we have now successfully exited Shoes. Or it may not work out as well. So you may realize that Shoes actually went bust. Couldn't raise money in the middle of unstable markets. That happens. That's okay. That's part of your strategy. Now, as we move down to the right here, we get into the workspace of the fund managers. You can see here it says fund manager on the bottom. So we have all of your boom boards, all of your boom cards. We have your strategic advisors. So you can be working with a lot of different advisors. We have your venture partners, if you have any. We have your portfolio growth, if you have any. We have your value creation. This is what we call the personality of the fund. And we have your exit opportunities. Finally, if you do well, you will be building yourself a venture capital zoo, where all of the beautiful trophy animals will be coming your way. Again, unicorns and decacorns and dragons. Let's see how well you do. Now, all the way towards the end here, we have fund performance. So again, the managing partner and the fund manager in this case, they need to be able to keep track of your different funds, and you got to be able to keep track of your performance. And voila, you will eventually arrive at the fund scoreboard. That's it. Nothing to it. That, my friends, is what you're going to be doing in the fund manager simulation. Now, it may seem like a lot to begin with, but there are different areas for the different roles, and this perfectly models the real-life workflow of a fund. So just follow the real-life workflow and you'll be perfectly fine. Now, before we wrap up this intro video, we're going to take you back and show you one last thing. And that is really just a quick recap of what we've been talking about. So, to recap, welcome to Fund Manager. I look forward to working with you. We look forward to working with you. This is going to be a great session. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of learning. It's going to be a lot of discussion. And you guys, armed with the new toolkit, armed with some insights from your previous experiences, you are now the co-founders of a new investment company, building a fund. Your goal is to start, raise, develop, and exit. And really your goal is to become world-class fund managers. You need to develop your own investment thesis, investment strategy, stages, geography, broad focus, very focused, active, passive ownerships. Do you always want to do follow-ons round? Do you want to never do follow-ons? Do you want to work with sleazy co-founders? What is the length of your DD process, and should you be doing preemptive term sheet? These are all decisions that you can make as you progress. But this is exactly like real life. So you can look at Paradigm, Breakthrough, Energy, Atomico, and you will recognize that these are very different funds with different strategies. And that's your prerogative as well. Who do you want to be in the simulation? Your task, build and shape the fund strategy, target the right LPs, develop relationships, grow your startup portfolio, sign the LPs, find your co-investors, and work towards the breakthrough exits and out of this world financial returns. Along the way, you'll meet a lot of aspects from market news and portfolio growths, sleazy friends and super LPs, and they'll partially make your life, smooth and easy. And sometimes they'll make your life very, very, very challenging, just like in real life. So finally, the last thing, you got to find your right LPs, you got to find the right deal flow, you got to develop the right exit strategy, and you got to be able to put all those pieces together in a compressed matter of time with a team you may never work with. So how do I win? Well, winning is all tied to your fund's performance, not the strategy, but the performance. So you need to deliver world-class returns, outcompete the field, deliver the best fund scoreboard, and then hopefully you'll be able to claim your seat at the 2022 Mighty Midas list, which of course is not the real Midas list, but it's close. All right, so that's what we need. That's what you need. I'm very much looking forward to working with you. I look forward to interesting days, challenging days as we work together with a group of emerging fund managers. So I'm Chris, and I'll see you in a couple of days.